Hello, this is Jeremy and chess time again. This is one of my chess games versus Bags and Friend. I'm white and he's black. I move to E4, the classical opening. Bobby Fischer, by the way, loved to move to E4 too, so that was his favorite opening. He's playing a kind of French defense, so. And then I turn it to the Scotch defense, Scotch game. Then he plays his bishop to G4, pinning my knight. I take with my pawn. D takes E4, 5. Then he takes with his bishop, F3. Not bad position, but not a good position. He should have kept it. Remember, pressure. He should have kept the pressure on my knight. Pressure sometimes is better than taking because you have to calculate in the take of the bishop to what it would do to the queen in the position. I play G takes F3. The reason I do that is I'm not going to castle kingside. I may castle kingside, it all depends. But I want to hold control of the E4 pawn. So I take with my G2 to F3. And it also keeps my queen centralized pinning this pawn right here. If he takes, I could play D1 takes the queen at D8. He'll have to take and he'll lose his ability of castling. Because remember, if a king moves, he cannot castle ever. Or if he's in check, or if another piece is in the way, he can't castle. You can't move into check either with if he's going to castle. Remember that too. And he plays his knight B8 to C6. Attacking, defending, opening up his rook so that he can play D6 takes E5. But I see that and I go, I'm going to trade off. Now I'm attacking a pawn. He's going to have to take either with his bishop or his queen. He takes with his bishop. Now let's take a look at the position. You're thinking to yourself, wait a second, he's got two pieces developed. I don't. But you'll see I have it. I get a huge development push coming pretty soon. I do my knight to C3. Protecting and attacking the D5 square, which he doesn't have anything protecting it. I'm attacking it twice. He moves his knight out, getting ready to castle kingside. I move my bishop. I'm pinning his knight against his queen. Remember, this isn't an ultimate pin. An ultimate pin is when it's against your king. He can move his knight, but he'll lose a very valuable piece, his queen. He pushes the pawn, H7, H6, attacking my bishop. I move back. Remember, pressure is sometimes better than taking, because he has to calculate in, if I take, what will happen to his king position if he castles. So what he does is weakens his king position by playing G to G5. This is not a very good move if he's going to castle kingside. I move my bishop to G3. I don't mind moving my bishop to G3 because if he takes, I can take with my F2 takes G3 and then I could get my pawns undoubled and do a huge pawn push. And let's count something. If I do undouble my pawns, I have a pawn majority. He has only 3 pawns. I have 4. 1, 2, and if he takes, that'd be 3, 4. And he does take. And I do take, like I stated. Now, later on, if we can take all these pieces, this one, that one, the 2 rooks, the queen and the knight, I take my knight, my queens, my bishop, my rooks off the board. I have a pawn majority, and I could be able to move my king into the center. I can take these pawns, have a passed pawn in the center, and see, I have equal pawns on my queen side. I have one extra pawn on his king side. That's going to be powerful in the end game. Moves his queen. He's changing his mind. But notice, he's going to castle queenside. But he can't castle queenside yet, because my queen is attacking the D8 square. You can never castle into a check. Never. Remember that. And so I move my bishop up, pinning. This is a pin. If he doesn't do something, I'm going to take. The reason I'm going to take, I double his pawns, and he can never undouble these. And if he does castle, he's got a weakness right there. Castles kingside. That's a horrible. If he wanted to castle kingside, he shouldn't have done the G5 push, because it weakens his F, G, G6, H7, and it even weakens his F6, because remember, if a pawn's here, it protects that square. But if a pawn is not here, if a pawn's not there, then it doesn't protect that, and I can move my knight in. Remember, okay, let's say that all the pieces are gone, except for his knight over here, and I have a knight right here. I can move my knight here, and it can't be taken, and it'd be check on his king. Do you see that? Because he doesn't have a pawn here to defend the F6 square. I castle. I forgot to do his castle. Okay. And now we're castled. We're going into what is considered the middle game. The middle game is when all your pieces are developed. It usually goes from 1 to 11, sometimes more. And it's when total development's out, and when you're in the middle game, it's all about strategy. It's about central control, hammering at the queen, but remember, strategy, plans. Don't move without seeing it. Always focus on what did he leave behind. Like when he moved up here, he left that square behind. That's the weakness. He left this square behind. Actually, he didn't because of that. But he left this square behind, which is a very powerful square. Now he's moving his knight to E5, attacking my piece. He's trying to. And he is moving out of a pin from my bishop. So, now, let's see what I do. I move my king up, defending 3 times. I can remove my rook, my queen, and I'm okay. I relieved all 2 pieces from having to defend. He now plays D8, attacking my queen. I move up to E6, E2, defending, protecting, and I can even push. See that? I can push, take away, airlift my rook up, over, check, bring my bishop here, pinning his pawn, bring my knight, attack the queen. So, it's crazy if I can get this in. It'd just be a really good position for me. But he plays C6, attacking my bishop. See? I go back to A4. The reason I go back to A4, any of these squares that I go to, his knight could trade. my bishop. Remember, close games, these guys are king. Open games, these guys, bishops, are the main guys. Because they can slice into the position at the end game. They can be, he could be here attacking that. His knight could be like right here. Knights can only guard one side of the board at a time. Bishops can guard both sides. That's why they're powerful in open games. He pushes on, he keeps the attack. He thinks, I'm going to storm the queen side. I'm going to start with b5, then he's going to move to a5, start the attack. So I move my bishop to b3, and a great position. If you notice, my bishop wasn't doing anything. He actually helped me move down. Guess what I'm pinning? His f7 pawn to his king. He can't move his pawn. All I gotta do, open this up, get rid of this, get rid of his defender here, and I can play bishop takes pawn with the protection of the rook, and his king has to move. He's protecting his advance of his b pawn, which I don't think that was such a great idea. If it was me, I would have advanced like that, just because he's got to get the fear of the attack of the pawn pushed down here, because then he can make my knight move. Now my only move would be right here, but he moved here. Now I push like my whole plan was. The f4. Remember, open up the f4, and the game is almost won. He takes. It's his only move. Otherwise, he can move here, but then I can push my pawn up, and I can bring my rook up, sacrifice. But he took, and I take back. Now I'm attacking his knight with a pawn, giving me tempo. He can't take. Remember, 2 attackers, 1 defender. Sorry, 2 defenders, 1 attacker. That's it. And what he does is he's trying to seal up his wound. See, he opened a huge wound, which the wound was his front pawns here. He has to seal his pawns up with his knight now, because he doesn't have a central pawn, he's his king. What I'm probably going to do is move my king to h1, and then go to g1 and attack. But I actually see a better move, which is push my pawn. It attacks, gives me a tempo on his knight. I'm also, if you see, I have a pawn majority. 2 right here. 1, he's got 1 at f7. I have 2 at f4, and then e. And I can start marching down. He moves. He's got to move. And then I take. Knight takes knight. He plays pawn takes. You see what I did? If I can get rid of this, I'll have a pawn majority on the queen side. And I could attack it now by bringing my rook, a1 to d1. But I find that this is such a good move, because one thing, remember, what is protecting his knight? He only has 1 protectorate. If I can get this guy out of the way, I can move my rook over to g3, pin his piece, this gets pinned. If that can get a pin here, I can play rook takes knight and take and check his king without losing my rook. He plays a c8. The reason is he wants to take this. It's not really a threat because of my bishop. If you notice, my bishop's protected, my queen. I think what he wants to do is control the half-open file of the c. That's good, but sometimes it's a waste of time. And what I do, I don't waste time. I move my rook to g3, pinning his knight to his king. Ultimate pin, dingling, dingling. he has to push his pawn here. The reason he does is if he doesn't, I can push my pawn up, attack his pin piece. And I go for, he made a mistake by doing that, by the way. If you notice, you see? See what happened? We'll go back really quick. By him doing that, what did he leave behind? Always remember, what did he leave behind? He left this little horsey behind. And I took advantage of it. Check. He has to move, and he moves to h7. I move to h5. Remember, I'm threatening, excuse me, remember I'm threatening the h6 because I can checkmate him in one move. He has to defend. He does. He plays queen to f8. Man, let's stop for a second before I move again. Let's look at the position. Remember in the beginning? He had all the development. Now, who's got all the development? Bags does. See, turn the tide. Don't always look at development as it's going to be over really quick in the beginning. Attack. Remember, plan your defenses and attacks. Sometimes a defense is an attack. Remember that. Don't give in just because you're down like a piece. I move my king out of the way. Reason I'm moving my king, I see there's one last soldier not in the fight. Remember, the phrase is, bring all soldiers to the fight. Don't leave anyone behind. Nobody left behind. He moves his rook down to c7. He's trying to come over, protect his king with all his might. What I do is now I play rook to f6, attacking his queen and preparing for the g6 attack checkmate, if you notice that. You see that? And the guest resigned because of all the threats. He saw the threat of rook to g1, hammering down his position. He saw if he moves his queen over here, I could play queen checkmate. Our next move, I could play queen check. He moves over here. Then comes checkmate. He was lost in 2, and he saw that. He resigned, and that is Bags versus Friend. Thank you.